you're delegating some decision making. Okay, so that's what DM is here, decision making. Then number one, all of the rules for setting great expectations still apply. The rule that follows is the rule to say, as the leader, you're open to do this. And as the leader, you'd say something to the effect, you describe, here's the mental process that I, as the leader, typically go through. In other words, so tradespeople that we coach, right? They're bringing on new people. Could be an apprentice, and that apprentice is developing very nicely, and we start to give that apprentice a little bit more, and we say, I think you can do this particular job. Okay, you've done it with me enough, but you've seen me do it. What you haven't seen is what my head is doing. Okay, so I want you to do, I don't know, the next one, the next one, the next one. So here's what I'm looking for. Here are the things that I'm trying to observe to make sure that my technical solution to this plumbing issue, this HVAC issue, even a roofing issue, landscaping issue, here are the things that I'm looking for. We coached a roofer for at least a year, and some of the things that he instinctively knew what to look for, it baffled me. I'm like, you're joking, right? Really? That's what you looked for, and that helped you determine, I'll say, some of the causes. If you're going to have somebody else do that, they need to know what that is. So don't be afraid to share the mental process that you go through in order to get to either a course of action, therefore a decision. And here's the reason. Remember in the last set, number 4, in that last set about how to set great expectations was this thing about concerns. I don't want the owner to walk away from that set of expectations concerned. So if I have trained and shared the things that I look for, because I've been doing it a lot longer, I being, my client in this case, the roofer, because I've been doing it a heck of a lot longer than that character, I want them to know all the subtleties that you need to look for to make a great decision. And so it is not micromanagement to set great expectations in the kind of finite detail that I described. It is not micromanagement to share your decision-making process with somebody else. It's not. You're doing it for a reason, so that you can sleep at night. So I'll leave it there.
So do you look over their shoulder when they first get started, just to make sure they're doing it right? Because there was one job I had when I first got out of college, and we delegated this one process of just stamping postcards to go out. And the person who did it didn't understand that this was a stamp machine with prepaid postage. And when a postage didn't quite show up bright enough or dark enough, they did it again.
And then it's one on top of the other.
Well, actually, it was just a stamp. It wasn't actually a stamp. It was like prepaid postage stamp. So it just inks it on there. And when it didn't ink it on there dark enough, she did it again. So now she's putting 2 postages on one stamp. And what she doesn't understand was each one of those is a prepaid account, and so she's wasting money. And didn't understand that each one of those was actual. Each time she stamped it, that was actually money coming out of the machine.
Okay, so I'm going to come back at that and say, I shouldn't have to look over their shoulder. I should have alerted them that if they find a situation where the initial stamp, whatever you're alluding to, was not clear enough, dark enough, don't just stamp again. There's another troubleshooting thing that has to take place, right? There has to be another troubleshooting thing.
Replace the ink.
Replace the ink, do whatever you have to do. Because I don't want them moving to a not prefabricated, it's up in their head. Some sort of a solution that's just wrong and doesn't work. So, you're going to hear me say this. It comes back to how I have set the expectation and described the outcome. I left the outcome vague. So,
So that kind of wraps it up. We want to do a quick recap on what we talked about.
okay, quick recap is we first talked about the discipline of self-management, which is time management. We can't manage time. Bruce hit it on the head right from the get-go. But what we can introduce is a set of disciplines that will assist us to take full advantage of the time we have. So that's download, rank, chunk it down, and you need to have criteria and goals if you're going to do that. Do any rank and chunk, and then schedule it. Get it on your calendar. Now we do have another process step. We don't do it much more than every quarter, and it's called a classify. And classify says everything that I'm doing, I'm going to classify into personal, business, financial, health, and I'm going to be able to determine, well, how am I spending my time? Do I have balance in my life? For today, we didn't have time to go through all that, but that is another step that we can take you through. Then we went through delegate, because delegate is an absolute part of our self-management, time management. And for delegating, I can only tell you this, that learning how first to be patient, and then the steps for great delegation, which is how do I set great expectations, that's fundamentally what has to be done, is learn how to set great expectations. Everyone's life actually gets better at that point. Then in terms of when you do delegate, if you don't want a whole litany of concerns to follow that expectation, then begin to share with them, here are some things that you should look for. When I'm going through that process, here's the mental process I go through. You can innovate on that.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure that you'll probably come up with some things that I would learn from in terms of how you addressed it, but in the beginning, like the first 2, 3, 4 times you do it, I want you to be on the lookout for these things. And you'll sleep better as a result.